All right, everyone. How's it going? Some technical. All right, everybody. We are live. We are live. We are live. I apologize. I was having major technical difficulties with my Facebook feed. But here we are. We are on. Hope you're all ready to have some fun today. I do apologize for that delay. It's going to take a little bit to get going here. Got to give it a little time, make sure everybody jumps on. And all right, how's it going, Laura? How's it going? How's it going? Could somebody please give me a sound check? Make sure that everything is working out okay. Can you guys hear me? Yeah, just having some Facebook technical difficulties with my setup. So I do apologize about that. I was scrambling to get on here. So I do apologize about the delays. Give me 1 second, everyone. Just checking some stuff here on my own feed, making sure that everything is good to go. If you're all ready to have a good time today, painting along with me. I appreciate all of you that are on here. I am going to give it a couple of minutes just to make sure everyone's able to find the feed. I know that because I was supposed to be on about 15 minutes ago, a little more than that now, 20 minutes ago, lots of you probably were like, he's not on anymore. So I do apologize about that. Again, just a bunch of technical difficulties around, whoops, not that. That's not what I'm trying to do here. Again, everybody give me just a moment as I'm scrambling a little bit over here. It gives people time to jump on so that they can find the feed, okay? Getting the notifications, etc. So give me 1 second here. One more thing. One more little thing here to I can see myself on my feed now. Cool. All right, let's see here. Okay. Things are looking good on my end. Yeah, I apologize, everybody. It's just been a bit of a crazy week, and Facebook has been giving me some audio and not just technical difficulties in general. So anyhow, my apologies. Here we are. Let's see. I'm just looking at the feed here, making sure that you guys can hear me. Barbara says on YouTube, sounding great. All right, fantastic. Rachel Simmons says hi, everyone from across the very big pond. Rachel Simmons is joining us from the UK. So welcome to all of you. I do appreciate you being on and being a little patient because, I did start a bit late. Tomorrow we're going to be starting at the same time, 2 o'clock. I'm sure by tomorrow everything will be good to go with all the issues that I was having. It doesn't happen often, but when it happens, things get pretty screwed up. Okay, so anyway, let's start talking a little bit about what we're going to be doing today. So today is day 1 of this 3-day event. Each day we're going to be painting for about 1 hour, not 3 hours, 1 hour. 1 hour each day over the next 3 days. So today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. Again, each time we'll be starting at 2 o'clock. So today's session is going to entail, we're going to draw the moon. We're going to draw that in. We're going to paint the background around the moon. Now, you could paint your background in first. There's nothing wrong with that. The only reason that in this case I'm going to be sketching the moon in before we do the background is that the background is pretty dark. And to get that moon, let's say we did the background first. If we do the moon afterwards, it can take a lot of layering to get that moon to be really, really bright white. Okay, so in this case, we don't want to contend with that. So we're going to draw on the moon first, and then we're going to paint around it. Okay, so hopefully that clears some things up. If you got some experience, if you've done this before and you want to paint your background in first, absolutely you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. So yes, let's say hello to some people. V. Lawson, what's happening from Indio? You're my neighbor. You're about an hour and 15 minutes away from me. Carmeny Vasquez says, will this be recorded? Yes, all 3 sessions are recorded. They're going to be available to watch both here on Painting with Jesse on the Facebook page and then on my YouTube channel. I'm going to go and leave them up at least till the end of this coming Sunday. I'm actually thinking I'm going to leave them up till the end of the month, last day. So actually, let's leave them up. This is what we'll do. I'm going to leave all 3 sessions up till November 2nd, which is the second day of Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead is celebrated November 1st and November 2nd. So we'll leave it up till midnight, November 2nd. What about that? This way it gives everyone a chance to catch up on these. And all you'll do is you'll go to under Painting with Jesse. If you go to the event page itself, you'll see each of the recordings there for each day. And then if you go to the Painting with Jesse page, you're going to see the recorded sessions under the live tab. Okay. Again, I'll leave them up till November 2nd, midnight. And that gives you plenty of time to do these at your own leisure. Okay. Also, today's sessions, you can back them up. I made it, this is part of what I was having difficulties with. I made it so that you could back the videos up here on Facebook, on YouTube. If you want to pause, back up, you can do it at any time. Here on Facebook, there's a couple of things you got to change settings on. And I struggled a little bit with that before we got going. So on that, you here on Facebook, you can also pause and back things up. Okay. That message is going to come up a lot. Lots of people are going to be asking, hey, is this recorded? If you guys see that question come up, please let them know that, yes, they can watch this at a later time. I'm hoping at least you guys get a chance to jump on with the live feed because that is a lot more fun. You get to ask questions, etc. So, it's always much more fun for me as well. Let's see who else. Michelle, you got it. My pleasure. Thank you, Natalie. Yeah, I was debating whether I was going to have time to do this. I got my makeup done. I was sitting there doing my own. It's a little tough to do on the left side of my face. I don't know how you women do it, but the right side of my face is easy. When I go over to the left, it's kind of hard to do. But anyway, I painted my face. I was done with my makeup, I don't know, a couple of hours ago, and I smeared it all over myself a couple of times already. So I've had to redo it a couple of times. But anyway, thank you so much. Patricia, how's it going? Courtney, how are you? Marjorie, thank you, Marjorie. I really do appreciate it. So anyway, everybody, let's go ahead and talk about how this is going to work really quickly. I mentioned already today we're painting in the background. We're actually going to draw the moon first. For those of you that have the stencil, for those of you that downloaded the stencil, you can go ahead and start tracing it on now. That is the first thing we're going to be doing. We're going to be painting around the moon, that background, that kind of different values of that dark blue that you see. There's a little bit of white in there mixed in. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. Then we're also going to add in all those little tiny stars. We're going to get through all of that today. We might even have a chance to put the first layer of paint on the moon. Tomorrow we draw all the details on the face. We paint those in. And then on Wednesday, we finish up those details and add the neon paint over that for those of you that are going to be using neon paint. Today, all you need is some dark blue color, okay, a little bit of white as well. You can mix them up to create the different shades in the painting. I've got some primary blue, some ultramarine blue, and some phthalo blue I'll probably mix up. There's not really much of a difference. They're all pretty much really identical or really close to identical, so don't stress about what colors you've got. As long as you've got a dark blue color, you're going to be okay. I want you guys to relax, especially if you're new at painting or new at drawing. If you're new at drawing, I invite you to draw it with me. I promise you it's not going to be anything really difficult. Also, if you are going to be sketching, regardless of whether you're using the stencil that I provided or not, I recommend using chalk or chalk pencils. Charcoal pencils can work. I'm going to use a basic piece of chalk to sketch in the outside of the moon. Chalk is really easy to work with because you can erase no problem. Okay, so you have a little time to grab that if you don't have any at the moment. As far as the brushes, pretty basic. Today, for the most part, I'm going to be using a 1-inch flat brush. I might go over to a 2-inch flat brush to cover the canvas a little bit faster. I'm using a 16 by 20 inch canvas, pretty large canvas, but anything with a, whoops, I just touched my face, probably got some paint smeared out across my face a little bit. Anyway, 1-inch flat brush right here. Like I said, I may end up going over to a 2-inch flat brush. You can also use a 1/2 inch. Depends on the size of canvas that you're using. But a smaller brush can be used to outline the moon before you start adding in all the color around on the canvas itself. More on that a little bit. So as far as today, you don't really need much in the way of brushes. Tomorrow and the next day, because we're going to get into more details, you will want to get those brushes that are in the supplies list. Okay, so again, pretty basic on the colors. A dark blue, a white is all you're really going to be needing today. Of course, tomorrow and the next days when you're going to be using all the other colors, you're going to be needing some black, depending on the colors that you're going to be using on the flowers, basically on all the details within the moon, blues, reds, oranges, yellows, greens, entirely up to you. It's your painting. I want you to make it your own. If you want to change things up, please feel free to do so. This is about having fun and enjoying the process. So again, especially if you're newer at this stuff, please relax. Just enjoy the process. I promise I'm going to make it as easy as I possibly can. If you guys have questions, concerns, not concerns, but questions about any of the processes, you need me to repeat anything, put your questions in the comments. The comments tend to go by pretty quickly. So sometimes I'll miss a question or two, especially if I'm painting, but I always go back and look at the comments to make sure that I catch all the questions that I can. Sometimes you'll have to repeat your question because I don't see it, but you'll see me when I'm looking at the feed. I am monitoring my feed on my laptop. I've got a camera up there. I've got a second camera that's facing the painting. Here in a little bit, I'm going to increase the size of the image of this, and my image is going to get pretty tiny, so your entire screen is going to get filled up primarily with what I'm doing over here. It makes it a little easier for you guys to see it. But whenever I come over to look at the comments, I'll let you know, and that way you can ask your questions. Again, on Facebook and on YouTube, you can pause, you can back up the session. So if you miss something, you can always go back and back it up and see what you might have missed. Okay, go over things a few times if you need to. But all right, let's take a look really quickly at more of the questions. Jackie, how's it going from Pahrump, Nevada? So I'm monitoring the feed on both my Facebook page and then on my StreamYard, which allows me, it just kind of gives me an overall view of everything that's going on. It is a little difficult to keep track of all the questions that come up, but I will do my best. So, all right, who is ready to paint? Give me some thumbs up. Give me some thumbs up, some hearts, letting me know that you guys are ready to go. I am ready to move on. Here are a bunch of hearts for you guys. Clicking on all these little hearts. These are all for you for joining in on this live session. So let me know. Are we good to go? What's happening, Angelie Marie? How are you? From Puerto Rico, right, Angelie? If I remember correctly. Let's see who else is on with us. Doreen, how's it going? Okay, I'll go back to the comments and say hello to more of you in a little bit. If you guys are new and have never joined in with me for any of these painting sessions, please make sure, actually all of you say hello, but if you're new, let me know where you're painting from and maybe who you're painting with, okay? So, all right, let's take a look at what we got. Oh, let me change the screen on my StreamYard here. So that way, there we go. Much better. Okay, so let's take a look at what we've got. We got a big old canvas. Again, I'm going to be drawing this with a chalk pencil. Oh, in case it's your first time painting, you want to have a bunch of paper towels. I always have a bunch of paper towels handy. I am going to be using a wet palette, stay wet palette for my session today. Basically, I'm going to be adding the colors to my, actually, I'm going to go and do it right now. I'm going to go and take I got a little bit of this primary blue. Actually, this one is my primary blue. I like using these Liquitex paints. We're not going to get into painting until after we do the sketch, but I'm going to go ahead and put down some of my paint here. I'm also going to be using a little bit of phthalo blue. The phthalo blue has a little bit more of a purplish color to it. It's a little darker. Primary blue is more of it's actually a true blue. Okay, so I'm just going to put those on there. I'm also going to take a little bit of white. You don't have to do this right now, but if you want to, go ahead. So again, those are the three colors that I'm going to be using today: the blues, and that white. And again, this is a stay wet palette. It just keeps my paint wet. Acrylic paint dries very quickly, and a stay wet palette helps keep everything nice and wet until I'm ready to use it. But okay, here's my chalk. Again, if you're going to be sketching, if you're going to be tracing yours, please go ahead and do so now. If maybe you've already got it traced out, we're doing the we're doing the drawing first. I'm going to turn this towards me just a little bit. I want to make sure that, I've got a good perspective on it. Otherwise, mine will turn out a little lopsided. So I'll sketch a little here and then I'll turn it towards you. Now I'm going to start on the inside right here. Again, a chalk makes it really easy to erase. So my recommendation is chalk pencil. Charcoal pencil can work, but I don't recommend it too much because it can leave depending on the type of charcoal that you're using, it can leave some darker areas on your canvas. And over here around where the blue is, it's okay because you can pretty much cover it up. But if you get any of that in here, it might be a little tough to cover that up. Okay, but let's start with the inside right here. Okay, now, so this part right here, this edge is at about a third of the way from the left side of my canvas. So if I do this with my hand, with my fingers, I go like this, 1, 2, 3. Look at that. Okay, so I can do that on my canvas. Whatever size canvas you've got, you could do that. And I'm just going to mark that off. Okay, nice little mark right there. And I know it might be a little difficult for you to see my marks. Actually, I'm going to turn off the light that's right behind the canvas. I see some light kind of bleeding through there. So give me 1 second. All right, just so that it makes it a little easier for you guys to see what I'm doing. So again, this right here represents this edge right in there. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to come over. Watch what I do here. Watch how I do this. I just curve this until I get it right. All those extra lines, I'm not really worried about it. Once I've got the right line, the line that I want, I'm just going to go like this. Clean things up. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, chalk is really easy to fix. Let me demonstrate. A little bit of water. So if you're using a multimedia pad, this might be a little bit trickier for you, but it'll still work, especially if you used gesso to prime your multimedia pad. This should not be a problem. Okay, there we go. Okay, so all I did was just erase some of that line, one, to demonstrate, but also to just correct this little line right here. Again, nice and easy. Everybody's moon is going to look a little different. Don't stress about it. Flowers, leaves, etc. Everything's going to be looking a little different for most of us. So don't stress out. If yours has a bigger curve, I can already tell this is a little bit more curved than that, whereas this kind of flattens out a little bit more. I can always fix it if I really want to, but I'm good with what I've got. Come down here to the nose. Okay, nose comes forward just a little bit, dips back down. Okay. So again, and this line back here, don't worry about that. Just worry about that edge in the front here. Just to make it a little clearer, I'm going to go ahead and erase this right in here. Let me know in the comments if you're newer to painting, if you're newer to drawing and painting. I'd like to just kind of get a feel for what we have on. I know quite a few of you have been painting for a little bit. Lots of you are part of my membership group here on Facebook. I've got a membership group called Finding Your Brushstroke. Private group. I know lots of you guys are on here, or quite a few of you guys might be on here today. But if you're newer to painting, let me know. Okay, I'd love to know. Here's my mouth. Okay. Come forward from here. Just a little opening, almost like if you're making a triangle, but sideways, right? It's on its side. Underneath. Over. Kind of same thing that we did at the top. Now I'm going to bring this out just a little bit further. On the original, I brought it out just a little bit further than the top. Doesn't make too much of a difference, but it does give my moon a little bit more of a lean, as if it's kind of leaning backwards just a touch. Okay? So, again, folks, I do apologize. Started late today. I had the last few times that I've used Facebook, I had some technical difficulties. Not every time, but probably 1 out of every 3 times. And it seems sometimes when I do these bigger events, for some reason, it could be that I'm out of practice when I go to do the setup for it, because I'm broadcasting to different platforms, 2 Facebook pages and 1 YouTube pages. For some reason, that seems to throw things off. So I started a bit late, and I do apologize about that. Okay, so now we're doing the back part. Now, first thing I notice is that I'm quite a bit higher there at the top than I am on the original, and that would work, but I want a little space up on top. So I'm going to bring this down just a little bit. I'm also going to bring this down just a little bit too. Okay, there's drawing, painting more often than not, involves making corrections. It's all part of the process, so don't stress out. If you're making corrections, if you see me make corrections, again, it's all part of the process. There we go, a little thinner, a little skinnier, more of what I want. Bring this out, wraps around behind. Now, even if you guys got my stencil and you're using that stencil, I would challenge you to draw it, practice drawing this on your own. Even if it's not what you end up doing, what you end up using for your actual painting, but practice drawing this on a piece of paper, scratch paper, etc. The more you practice, I know lots of people are intimidated by having to draw, but the more you practice, just like with everything else, the better people get. In just a moment, this part of it is going to be done. We're almost there. I'm just going to make a little correction down here too. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit lower. But the more you practice, even if you feel like you're, some people tell me all the time, I can't even draw a stick figure. I will challenge you. I'll push back on that and say it's because you have not practiced enough. You gave up the few times that you tried and didn't give yourself time to really figure things out. But if you practice, just like with anything else, you will get better. All right. So anyway, all right. Again, I just want to make a little correction. I'm going to bring this down just a little bit lower. Make this a little skinnier as well. Okay. All right. Let me take a little step back. Let me look at my handiwork from a bit of a distance. You always want to take a step back, look at what you've got, and you can make corrections. It's easier to spot any areas that you might need to make corrections on. So as I step back here and look at my drawing from a distance, all right, again, slight differences between the two. Nothing major, nothing that I'm worried about. I do like what I have. So in just a moment, I'm just going to clean some things up, like some of these little edges, just to make it easier for all of you to see, and then we're good to go. I'm going to get makeup all over my water bottle. Okay, so just going to take my paper towel here one more time, dip it in water. I don't want a lot of water. I don't want this to be super drippy. I'm just going to kind of spread this out like this, and then right in here. I'm going to come in here and just clean up some of these edges. Now, all this smudginess around here, don't worry. I don't worry about it. I'm going to be covering all that up with paint. Okay. I just want a good sketch on here that I can use to outline. I'm not worried about the stuff on the inside. We're going to get to that likely tomorrow. Okay, all the stuff here on the inside. We're going to be getting that to that tomorrow. But all right, let me take a look at your comments. So I am looking at the feed now. If you guys have any questions about anything, what's happening, Cheryl? Hi, Kim. How's it going? Good to see you too, virtually, right? Hi, Karen. Awesome. Thank you, Karen. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Hi, Shirley. How's it going? From rainy Buffalo, New York. Gloria says, ready like Freddy. Millie Polson says, can't wait to start. All right, everybody. Fantastic. Let me come over here. Also, make sure that I'm not missing anything over here. All right. All right. Thank you, Cheryl. Appreciate it. All right. So things are underway here. All right, everybody, about another minute, and we're going to move on. We're going to start adding in that paint, okay? So nothing fancy today, nothing crazy. We could have done this all in one shot, painted for approximately 3 hours and gotten this done. But I kind of like this breaking it up. It gives everybody a little time to refresh. If we painted for 3 hours straight, people start getting fatigued at the end. I start getting a little tired. It's easier for me to miss details. But like this, whatever we have today, you could always come back to it later tonight or tomorrow morning, look at it again, and make little final minute touch-ups before we continue on day 2 tomorrow. Okay, so anyway, all right. Give me just about 30 seconds and we will move on to the next step. Okay, so I got my wet palette right here. Okay, and all this is, for those of you that aren't familiar with this, all this is a plastic little box, has a lid to it. Okay, underneath it, or underneath, on top, we've got this. It's called palette paper. It's a kind of a breathable, porous membrane that allows water from. There's a little sponge underneath here. That little sponge back there. It's got a little bit of water in it, and so that water in that sponge keeps my paint nice and wet. Okay, and so it extends the drying time by quite a bit on my acrylic paint, which is what I want. But okay, I've also got a water cup here. I got a bunch of brushes here. I'm not going to be using all those today, but I've got a water cup here with some brushes sitting in it. Normally, it's not good to leave your brushes in water for too long, so I'm just being a little bit, with all the craziness that was going on earlier, I didn't get a chance to prepare as much as I wanted to, so, but all good. A little bit of white. Just going to scoop up some of my white. I'm going to come right in here. Okay. Now I'm going to grab a little bit of my primary blue. Bring it down here just a bit. And a little bit of my phthalo blue. Again, don't stress about what blue you've got, what blue I've got. As long as you've got a dark blue, you are good. Unless you're painting your background a little bit of a different color. Okay? So here's kind of a light blue. I'm going to take this. I'm going to come right in here. And mix over that white. Now we're going to prep this background really nicely. Okay? We're going to go through. Part of the reason we're also taking our time over 3 days is I want to make sure that we prep this background really, really nicely. A lot of times people are in a hurry and they go through and just kind of, they want to get through this really fast. And so they don't take the time to properly layer that background. When that happens, your end results don't look quite as nice. And I'm just adding a little bit more blue at a time. I'm just going through my palette and grabbing a little bit here and there. I'm just swirling this around. Now, I do dip my brush in water a little bit. I just take the tip of my bristles here. I just barely dip. I don't dip the whole brush all the way down to the water. I just dip the very tip of those bristles in that water. I bring it over and just kind of mix it in right here with the little area of paint that I'm working with. What I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go ahead and outline my moon. Now I'm going right over my purple chalk, right over the top of it. Now, why didn't I use blue chalk? Well, I ran out. I have some at home, but here at the studio, I don't have any more of my blue chalk. So blue would have been better. Purple still works. Okay, there we go. All right. I just continue with my swirls here. Now, for those of you that are following the private group for this Day of the Dead event, I do have a little private group going. Actually, whether you're following that page or whether you're simply following along with the Painting with Jesse page, you guys want to share your progress pictures later today when we're done here, please do so. Post them up. Share them to the page so everyone can see what you've got, especially in the private group. It's a lot easier to keep track of those, but yeah, share them. Okay, so here I am. I'm just swirling this around. Now, this isn't going to be the last that I'll be doing. Whoops, let me get my stool around here. I am going to come back and refine this a little bit more in a little bit. Okay, so acrylic paint, you more often than not have to layer to get a really good background. So we're going to leave this alone for a little bit. I'm going to continue. I'm actually going to take this, go around my moon here. Now I keep dipping my brush in my water cup, and I bring a little bit of that water over to my paint. Now again, I want to take my brush and paint over my chalk lines. Cover up as much of that chalk as I can. Maybe some of you guys did this in pencil. Same thing. Cover up your pencil line with this darker color. It's a lot harder to cover it with white. All right. So I've got my color here. I've outlined my moon. I'm going to take a little bit more of my primary blue, more of my phthalo blue. Again, my phthalo blue is just a little darker, a little bit more purplish, a little bit of white. I can leave this kind of swirly. I don't need to blend it all perfectly so it's all one color. Just kind of going to do that, and I'll start right in here. Don't forget, folks, if you have any questions about any of this, let me know. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions, but give me a little bit. I'll go take a look at the questions that might be coming up here in just a bit. Don't forget, you can back the video up if you need to, both on Facebook and on Instagram, not Instagram, YouTube. You can back up the video, pause it, jump back to where I am. So now what I'm doing is I'm just working my way around. From time to time, I dip my brush back in that water, bring it over to my mixture. A little more white here and there. A little more of my phthalo blue, make it a little darker, especially up here in the corners. Maybe I want this to be a little darker. Little streak here. Hey, if some of you guys decide to dress up like, Sugar Skull, Dia de los Muertos style, take a picture and post it with your painting. I'd love to see that. All right, so we just continue here. Now, if you're newer to painting and you're struggling to get your paint flow, to apply, you kind of do this and it's not sticking to the canvas, add a little bit of water to your paint. So again, all I do is I just barely dip my brush down into those bristles into that water, bring it over to my mixture here, and I go like this. Just makes it a little bit flowier. It makes it easier for it to stick to that canvas. Don't worry, folks. If you guys have any questions, I'll take a look here in just a bit. Let you guys do a little catching up on this as I'm going through and answering questions. Also, if you, I'm sure some of you guys are going to have this question. If you have not yet and you want to download that stencil on the supplies list, there's a link in the description of this video where you can click. It'll take you to the registration page where you can then download that supplies list and the stencil, the PDF stencil for the moon, if you don't want to draw it by hand. So now I'm just kind of going back over the same areas that I've already painted and just smoothing out my paint. Okay, once I've got the paint all covering my canvas everywhere, except for here, missing a little spot right there. Now I can go back and start smoothing things out. Now in just a little bit, I'm going to start adding more paint to this. I want to make sure I've got plenty of paint covering everywhere to minimize any blotchiness. Again, acrylic paint requires, in most cases, depending on the results that you want, multiple layers. So we're going to be doing at least 2 layers of paint for this background. Again, we're gonna prep it right. We're gonna make it look good, so you guys can hang up your paintings, show them off. When you post them, people are gonna go, "What the heck? You made that?" Wow! Even if it's your first time, how about that? All right, so let's take a moment with this. I'm going to go start looking through those comments again. Again, we're not done with that background yet. We're going to add a little bit more coloring in here in a bit, another layer of color. And we'll refine things some more. All right. Let's see. What's happening, Joanne? Barbara, yeah. It's already starting to rain out here just a little bit. Earlier when I was coming into my studio, little droplets, and I keep hearing we're going to get a heavy rain over here. So let's see what happens. What's happening, Martha? Lorraine, thank you, Lorraine. Thank you, Rachel. Okay, no worries. Donansin, no worry if you're still on. No worries. Send me a message and I'll get you that link, okay? Or I'll guide you through the link. Pretty easy. Sometimes it glitches a little bit too. Everything glitches sometimes. Okay, so just let me know. I got to remember to not touch my lips to my water bottle. All right, let's see what do we got over here. Hi, Liliana, what's happening? Natalie Correndo Cervantes, how's it going? Good, Angeli. What's happening, Bale Jacobs? Yes, you sure will. You'll be able to watch this later. Oh, it's Miguel. Hi, Miguel. Sorry, Miguel. You must be using your mom's page. All right, just going back to those comments here. See what we got. Okay, looks like I'm not missing anything. Again, folks, don't be shy. Any questions, comments, put them down in the comments below, and I'll be happy to answer them. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and take my blow dryer. I've got a blow dryer here. I'm going to take that. I'm going to dry this background so I can add another layer over the top of it. Okay, here we go. All right, again, we're working with acrylic paint, so it doesn't take very long to dry. And all I'm going to do now is the exact same process that I just did a moment ago, just to add more refinements to that background. I take a little step back. Do I want more highlights in it? Do I want more of the dark parts in there? It just depends. In here, I want it to be a little bit lighter. So again, my mixture, actually, I need a little bit more of my, this time I'm gonna grab a little bit of ultramarine blue. It's a little bit more purple. Grab a little bit of this. A little bit darker. So I'm going to grab some of this guy right here. I'm going to bring it over. Now, when you layer, even if you're using the same color that you started with, when you layer over that same color, it tends to get darker. Okay? Now, I'll come back to this here in just a bit. I want to take some of this black or this darker color, and I'm just going to grab this. Let me raise the neck on my easel here. I'm just going to grab this guy, and I'm going to go like this. I'm going to bring this big old streak. Again, this is a galaxy, right? We're looking at the sky, night sky here. So we've got all kinds of different swirly colors or different blues in there. Okay. Maybe down here we got another one. Nice and easy. Just want to remind everybody, everyone's painting is going to look a little bit different. So don't stress out. Enjoy the process. Let things turn out how they're going to turn out. That doesn't mean you don't try your best, but just the most important part of it is to enjoy the process. Maybe in here. Right up in here. Just pick your spots. Okay, now I'm going to take a little more white. Now I'm going to grab white here. Bring it over here in the center. Okay, this white, I'm going to apply it right in here. Okay. Need a little bit more of my phthalo blue and my ultramarine, a little bit of my other blue. Again, don't stress out. Whatever blue you got, you're going to be fine. You just want to change the how bright and how dark it is, which is basically called the value of your paint. By adding a little bit of white paint, you brighten it up. You could add a little bit of black to it too to make it darker if your paint isn't quite that dark. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and keep adding paint around. go. When we add in all the stars, a lot of this detail is going to kind of take a back seat. It's going to disappear a little bit. It won't be as prominent, right? Once we add the stars on top of all this, a lot of this background kind of disappears. Just goes falls back, so our eyes don't catch it as much. There we go. So again, take a little step back. Look at your handiwork from a distance. Make sure you like what you've got. We're going to be adding stars here pretty soon. So now the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go around my edges. I'm working on a canvas here. For those of you that are working on a canvas, you can come around and paint your edges to match the front. You don't have to. Some people like to leave these, like to leave them white. No, I don't do the very bottom edge underneath. I don't do that till the very end. Okay. The reason I leave it to the end is because I'm working on an easel. Many of you already know. If I do it now, the paint will glue my canvas to the easel, and it can damage my canvas when I try to rip it off. Okay. So again, take a little step back. Make sure you like what you've got before you start adding your stars in. And just because I'm going to be adding stars right now doesn't mean you have to. It might take you, if it takes you a little longer to get your background finished, that's okay. Remember, this is all being recorded, and you can come back at your own time and make refinements. What I will suggest, though, is that you make sure you get your background nice and pretty, as nice as you'd like it. Take your time with it. Again, there's no rush. The recordings are going to be available till November 2nd. You guys will be able to watch them here on the Painting with Jesse page or on YouTube. After that, I move the videos over to the library in my art membership. Finding Your Brushstroke group is also here in Facebook. Doors are currently closed, but I am going to be opening those back up to let new members in. I've got a nice waiting list going sometime in November. I think the second or third week. I think probably the second week. Haven't decided yet. I'll decide this week. I'll start posting around that sometime soon. But anyway, as far as today's videos, these next three sessions, the sessions here within the 3 days of Dia de los Muertos painting challenge. These are all going to be available to everybody until November 2nd, midnight. All right. Okay. See what you got. Here we go, Darla. Here we go. Let's see tomorrow. Now tomorrow I'm going to change it up. I'm going to do something a little different. Not sure what yet. I kind of decided to do this last minute. So yeah. So we'll see what I do tomorrow. I'll change it up. Add some different stuff to it. Maybe some big flowers on top of my head. Not on my hair. I'm gonna draw them in, paint them in my face. Okay. All right, let me do this. Thank you, Darla. Here we go. You guys want to see a little close up? Hold on. Bam! Look at that. All of this stuff. I can't touch my face. It's funny with my beard and my mustache. It's a little different, but yeah, it was fun. You got it, Joanne. How's it going? Sophie, how are you? Yeah, the darker color is pretty good. That it's the combination of the lights and the darks that create that galaxy or night sky feel to it. So you do want to. I mean, you don't have to, but adding a little bit of both is will make it really pop. All right. What else, folks? Anybody got any questions? Give me some thumbs up if you're having fun. Give me some thumbs up, some hearts if you're having fun. All right. So, awesome. So, what is this? What is that? Sorry, folks. I'm looking at some weird comment at the bottom, and it looks like it's from my page. Doesn't make any sense. Sends 200 stars to see your comment here. That is really odd. I don't know what that's about. Facebook is generating a comment on behalf of my page at the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I see it's something about, it says send 200 stars to see your comments here. If you guys see that, I don't think you can, but don't worry about that. I don't know what the heck that is. Weird. I'll have to look into that later. But okay. All right. So we take a little step back. We look at our painting. We decide, is this good? Is this what we want? Do we need to add more streaks in there? I might decide to add a couple little lighter ones really quickly. Maybe I want a little bit more of a contrast down here between my blues and my darks and my blues there, or my there we go. I kind of like that. A little bit. Just give it a little bit more variation. Didn't have enough of a contrast down there between my different blues, so just a bit. Maybe in here. There we go. So again, once we start to add in the stars and everything else, well, not everything else, all the stars in that sky, this is all kind of going to fall away into the background. There we go. And this is going to be a little bit brighter, I think, than that in some spots. So it's all good. All right. So what we're going to do for the stars is using the same big brush. Now I want you, if you guys are going to do the same method that I am, you could go through and do this. You can grab a brush. I'm not going to do this. I'm just going to demonstrate to you guys. Oh, let me bring this back. All right, there we go. So I could take the back end of my brush, dip into my paint and start doing this, just tapping. But that would take forever. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take my brush. I'm going to I dip my brush in my water cup. Yes, my water's blue by now. That's okay. Just going to bring a little bit of water over here to the bottom. Now, I need a lot of white for this. So I'm grabbing, actually, let me do this. Let me do this so it's a little easier for you guys to see what I'm doing. I'm going to take a plate. I'm going to do this on a plate. So I'm going to grab a bunch of white. If you guys want to clean your, use clean water for this, you can. Actually, I'm going to do the same. I could use the water that's in my cup, but it's really dark blue. So just to make sure I got brighter stars, I'm going to go ahead and use some cleaner water. So I brought some water over here, put it on my plate. You don't need a lot of water. I'm going to scoop up some of my paint, white paint, and I'm going to let that water kind of swirl around in there like this. So I want really liquidy paint, but not to the point where it is running down my plate. Okay, now I want to test this out first. I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to flick paint at the canvas. Before I start flicking paint at my canvas, I can take this, take like my plate here. You can use a dish or a paper plate or something to practice on. Okay, and I do this a couple of times. I just let out, at the very beginning, it's going to shoot out really big gobs of paint. Once I've done that a couple of times, now I can come over to my canvas and I can start doing this. I'm getting all these little tiny specks of paint on the canvas. And I'm going to keep doing this. Careful now, you don't want to make a mess. Get really close to the canvas and start flicking these paint droplets at it. Now it's going to take a lot of this to get it really dense and for it to look like that. Now, if you got a little bit of blue water in your paint, your stars aren't going to stand out as much. But so I'll do this. Mine might still have quite a bit of blue water in it, and my stars aren't quite as bright. But I'll do this for this first layer, and then in a moment I'm going to go ahead and get really clean white paint and do this again, and that's going to make those stars stand out quite a bit more. Now, if you have glow-in-the-dark paint, not the neon paint, you could still use neon paint if you wanted to, and the stars like a blue neon paint. But if you got regular glow-in-the-dark paint, you can mix it into your paint and do this with that so that your stars glow. Okay. A little bit more white. Let's get some cleaner white paint this time. So just white paint in this case here at the bottom. Actually, I want this a little bit more controlled. I'm going to use the lid for my Stay Wet palette. Here's my white paint. Scoop up my water down here. Oh, I should clean my brush a little bit better. That's all right. No big deal. This is still going to be brighter than what I've got on there now. And again, we want to practice. Get some of those big gobs out of there first. And then here we go again. You start building density, creating a really heavy, heavily starred background by doing this lots of times. And it's okay that we're getting paint right in here on the moon. We're going to cover all that with white anyway. Okay, let's do it again. This time I'm going to clean up my brush really well. And let's do that again. This time I want just white stars. So who joined me? I know quite a few of you that are on here joined me for the Halloween, 3 days of Halloween paint along. That was a lot of fun too. Here we go. More stars. Okay, cool. Now these are white and they're going to stand out a little more than those light blue ones that I added a bit ago. It's up to you how many stars you want in your sky. The more you do this, again, the more density you create. And I think it looks really cool when you've got all kinds of stars back there, but it's entirely up to you. You could also alternate and make some slightly bigger ones with the back of a smaller brush. A little too much there. All right. A little bit of a big gob get away from me and land on the canvas. So all good though. You can also use a toothbrush for this. Some people like to use a toothbrush. You'll find it a little bit easier to work with. You can also use a smaller brush. I'm using this big 1-inch flat brush. You can use a smaller one. Okay, looking pretty good. Okay, take a little step back. I'm gonna add a few more down in here. I want that to get really full and dense. All right, that's looking pretty good. I like it. Now, really quickly before any of the paint dries, since I got a lot of these droplets on the inside here, I just want to smooth them out in case I got any big gobs in here anywhere. I just want to smooth this out. So I'm just going to run my brush over the top of all this in here. Okay, so work on that for a couple minutes. We're going to put a layer of white paint over the moon, and then we're going to be finishing up for today. Okay, so let's see. Hi, Sandy. Sounds good. Also, remember, you can back this video up. Okay, you can back it up right now. You don't have to watch it, or you don't have to stay along with me. You can back it up and watch you can simply back up the live feed. Okay, you don't have to wait till it's over. Awesome, Shirley. Thank you, Cheryl. I do, Darla. I do. Oh, no, Shirley, you sent me a mad face. All good. Hi, Sandra. So the moon is not painted yet. Okay, Miguel? Thank you, Darla. Yeah, I love all Day of the Dead stuff. The art around it is just so beautiful. So about 4 years ago, um, in San Diego, they have I don't know if they still do it, but I know they've done it a few times. I'm not sure. I'm sure probably because of COVID and stuff. Maybe um, I don't know. Maybe they'll do it this year, but they have a 3 or 4 day Day of the Dead event. Well, maybe it just happened because I was down there on the weekend. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, this all of Old Town San Diego was done up Day of the Dead style. They also they do them all over the place now. It's become a pretty popular thing, but all the art and stuff around it is just amazing. The the costumes, all that stuff is so cool. One of these days, I'm going to go down to Mexico. I want to go check out one of the processions and stuff in one of those little towns. Everything looks so beautiful every time. So sometimes I'll check stuff out on like YouTube and stuff, or something that comes on TV. It just looks beautiful. So all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take some white. I'm going to paint. I'm going to add some white to the inside of that moon. It's just going to be white. Okay, I'm going to grab a plate over here that I've got a little bit of wet paint on, old paint. Just going to grab some white paint. Like I said, it's just basic white paint. Nothing fancy about this. Got titanium white. Titanium white is probably the best, but if you have an off-white, works out perfectly too. Okay, you want to use a clean brush. Now, you can layer the moon just like everything else. It's a little hard to see against the white background. Now, some of that purple that I've got in here, that chocolate's in there, is probably going to tint the paint a little bit. That's okay. Not too worried about that, but I'm just going to scoop up. I have this really flowy craft paint that I'm using for this part of it. So I don't need to add water to it. But some of you that are working with a thicker paint, you may want to add a little bit of water to your brush or to the paint itself before you do this. Now, got to be a little careful here. If my paint is still wet around the moon in it, it shouldn't be. The blue paint, I dried it all up. But if it's a little wet around the moon, I might accidentally pull some in. So I want to be really, really careful around my edges. So I just bring this around, comes up like that. And then here on that mouth. Now here for this part of it, I can brush my paint across the moon in any direction for this first part of this. Like if I come up to my edges and I kind of do this, brush inwards. But what I want to do to give the moon a nice smooth finish, even though I'm brushing in different directions at the moment, like I can do this and this, right? And this. Before the paint dries, what I do want to do, once I've got the entire inside of the moon covered, is I want to go over it again. And I want to brush all in one direction. And I like to brush in the direction of the shape. That will smooth out the paint. Okay, so what I mean by that is this. I've got everything covered pretty much. Looks like I've got every bit of my moon covered in some paint. What I'll do now is I'll just start brushing everything in the same direction. What this does is it gives my moon a little bit of a smoother finish. Let me fix this little corner a little tiny bit for that point right there. I'll round this out a bit. So yeah, like this. Because my brush strokes are going all in the same direction, the surface of my moon gets a little bit smoother. And I know it's all white paint, it's all the same paint, but you can still pick that up. Even if it's really subtle, your eyes will still pick that up. I had a big gob of paint right on the edge, right there. If I would have rushed over it, I would have spread it out and away from the moon. It would have gone into the area around it, and I didn't want to do that, so using my finger to wipe that off. But all right. Somebody was saying that I need to drink a little tea with a little bit of lemon. Yeah, some days my voice just gets really, it's just naturally raspy, but some days it gets a lot worse when the temperature changes or when the weather changes. if I don't get enough sleep, all that stuff really affects my voice, and I can feel it sometimes. Look at that! I pulled in some of that paint that was still wet around the edge. It's okay. Doesn't hurt anything. I just have to clean it up a little bit. And even if that happens and I was to leave it like that, I could always go in there and paint over that again once it's dry. But just to avoid having to do a lot of layering over that area in white to remove it, I'm going to grab a paper towel. Just kind of do this. Grab a little bit of water, just a touch of water, and I'll run the paper towel right over the top of that. To remove it. And now we'll go over that little streak of blue that you see there. So I went past my edge a little bit with the white. Almost nothing there's almost nothing that can't be fixed in painting. Can make your work a little bit harder though. We're going to leave that like that for a bit, and then I'll go over that area again. All right. I'm going to take my blow dryer to this really quickly. We're going to do one more layer of white, and then we're good to go for tomorrow. Sounds good, Don. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Penny. There you go, Darla. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Really beautiful. Yes, Old Town is awesome, Don. Yeah, I love Old Town. One of my favorite places to visit. Sometimes we'll just take a little day trip over there and hang out. So this is all dry now. I'm just gonna add one more layer of my white paint. We're gonna call it a day, and I will. Now we're not. Don't leave me now. Not yet, unless you're ready to go. But make sure I would at least do 2 layers of white paint on here, especially if you've got a little bit of blue mixed in here, or if you use chalk and you can see it. Sometimes even a 3rd layer is necessary. So kind of up to you, but you just want to. So all this in here, where you can still see some of my purple chalk. I just go right over the top of it. Now it's not going to hurt much if I leave it. Right, if I leave those in there, it's not going to hurt much. When I start adding all those decorations on the inside of my moon, everything's going to be beautiful. It's going to all blend in, but if you want to get rid of those, it can take a couple layers to do so. And sometimes 3 layers. Okay, let me take a step back. Take a look and see what I've got. Now, if I wanted to, I could go in here and add other colors in there. Not other colors, but other more blue in there. More variations of that blue. I can add more stars, etc., etc., etc. Just because I added the stars doesn't mean I can't go back in there and make some changes. I won't. I'm going to leave this as is. I like what I've got. Maybe I could blend these lines out a little bit more, but I think I like what I've got. Okay, but anyhow, that is the last step for today. Tomorrow we're going to add in all the details to the inside of our moon, right? All the flowers, are going to draw all that stuff in there and get a coat of paint on everything, layer everything. We'll see how far we get. And then Wednesday, we'll be adding the last final touches before we add the neon paints. Now, the neon paints, for those of you that have them, you don't have to have neon paints, right? It's up to you if you decide to use these. These are from Decoart, but they have them. Folkart has them. What is it? Craftsmart has them. There's all kinds of different brands out there. What you want is paint that glows under black light. Okay, there's a difference between black light paint and glow in the dark paint. Glow in the dark paint glows in the dark. Neon or fluorescent or black light paint will glow under a black light. Okay, so we'll be adding that stuff though on the last day, Wednesday. Okay, but all right, everybody. Any questions, comments before we get going? No worries, Rose. This is all being recorded. Okay, so you can always come back and watch. But whatever you're doing today, hopefully you're having some safe travels. Okay. But all right, everyone, any questions, any comments, let me know before we call it. And I will see you guys all tomorrow at 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock Pacific. Again, I apologize about all the technical difficulties. It was a crazy mess trying to get started. But tomorrow will be a lot smoother. It'll run a lot more smoothly. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow at the same time. So 2 o'clock, guys, 2 o'clock, okay, 2 p.m. Pacific. If you signed up to the text message feature, I'm going to be sending you guys a text. Today, all that went out the window when I was having my technical difficulties. So, okay. Okay, I will penny the black light paint. Absolutely. I'll give you a quick picture of it too. The one that I'm going to be using, it's Decoart Blacklight Neon Paint. Okay. Again, this is from Decoart. There are other brands out there. Folkart has it. Craftsmart. There's a bunch of different ones out there, but what you want to make sure is that they glow under black light. They're usually called neon or fluorescent. But if it says black light paint on it, you can't miss. Okay. Oh, the paste. Oh, absolutely. That's coming here. That's coming later. I'll be adding that to the private group discussion board in a little while. Okay. Most definitely we'll do that though. Thank you for the reminder. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I will see you all tomorrow. It'll be a little bit less of a scramble, hopefully. Thank you for joining me today. Have a good one. Oh, Rachel says, what do I do to straighten up the blue lines on the moon? The blue lines on your moon. What do you mean by that? Rachel, could you give me a little more information? Okay, Sandy, sounds good. Florida, huh? Fantastic. So, Rachel, what do you mean by the straighten up the blue lines on the moon? Are you talking about you had some blue kind of bleed into the moon? Is that what you mean? Straighten them, like blend, like even them out? Send me a picture, Rachel. Do me a favor. Send me a picture via Messenger so I get a better view, and then I'll respond to you on that if that sounds good. Okay. You can use the white. So you can simply use the white, kind of like this. Like, for example, let's say that I've got a curvy kind of a not a smooth line as it curves around or wherever it might be. You could do this with a little bit of a smaller brush. Like, for example, this 1/2-inch flat brush, I could just grab a little bit of paint and it'll just come right up to the edge. I just kind of do that. Okay. You might have to do it a couple of times to let that, especially if you're going into the blue area, you might have to do it a couple of times to cover all that blue up, but that should do the trick. Okay, but either way, if you want to send me a picture so I can look at it, please do so. Okay? All right, Rachel. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I will see you all tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye.